All right, powered by GoGoat Sports and in partnership with TSN, this is Season 3, Episode 28 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey. I had at least two over the course of the weekend, Ray.
Really?
Yeah, really? Just a splash.
What, with Masters splash, or?
Yeah, because you get past... I like you. I have a bit more time on my hands on the weekends, especially if you're not traveling and looking after the boys. Then you're spending a little time at home, maybe watching the Masters. So I spent a lot of time on the couch. And then you get past the dinner hour, right? So now it's like 7 o'clock, and they're just wrapping up. Especially last night, round 4, and it just seemed fitting. So, did you enjoy the Masters?
No. I didn't. I wanted Scheffler to make a couple of double bogeys so it could get tight.
Yeah.
That's I love when the leaderboard's got 4 or 5 guys that can kind of leapfrog over each other. He was just too good. I mean, just he just played so beautifully. It's like, and then I think they're getting better, Dregs, at showing like the elevation of the fairways. And you're like that, like that's not anywhere we play.
No.
And I'm not talking about the condition. I mean, like, they never have a flat shot. Their feet are above the ball, feet are below the ball. I'm like, it's amazing what they can do. And Scheffler was outstanding. That was great.
So many memorable moments. You're right. I mean, the plot was showed early in the final round. Cameron Smith just struggled in the manner that he did, especially on 12 with the triple bogey. But,
that'll do it.
Yeah, you see Rory McIlroy holes out from the bunker on 18, and then Colin Morikawa, who he's playing with, follows him up. I mean, that stuff doesn't happen normally, right? On the PGA Tour, you see guys hole out of the bunker all the time, but to do it in the final round of the Masters back to back like that in front of that stage, one of the special moments.
I don't know. It's a cool place to go and watch, I assume, but I don't know how everybody says how great it is to be there. Yeah. And maybe, it is one of those bucket list things to see, but man, I do enjoy my couch and watching it. There's it's some great views, man.
We've got Jonathan Huberdeau of the Florida Panthers coming up on the podcast.
Yeah, they're making another comeback win right now. I think they're down 3-1 and they're going to win 7-5 again.
Yeah, that's been the season for the Florida Panthers. Just a wrap-up thought on the Masters. You'll get a chuckle out of this. You're not a huge gambler, but you have time for it, right? Yeah. So I'm in a majors pool, not just a Masters pool, a majors pool. So you picked 4 players, 3 of them advance, and it's cumulative scores, right? So my buddy Derek has Scotty Scheffler. Same guy, Derek, who picked Harris English going into the majors pool, who's hurt.
Yes.
Didn't play in the players, didn't play in the Masters. Who knows if he's going to play all year? So we've been bugging him relentlessly. He's got Scotty Scheffler. All right. So automatically you think that, all right, well, Scheffler wins the Masters. Derek is going to win the pool. Problem is what I said earlier, it's cumulative. His 4-jack on 18 cost my pal the pool by 1 shot. If Scheffler had made bogey instead of double bogey, Derek wins the pool in about $350-400. Instead, he 4-jacks. Well, and he finishes second.
I like the guys that win pools that have no idea what they're doing. Right? They just pick 4 guys and they win. We were in Atlanta and we decided, so we had a pool and somebody went out and made a deal with a TV distributor. And so back in the day, right around 2000, those giant big screen TVs were the thing. So we got one, and that was the prize. If you won the pool, you got to take the TV home. So one of our Swedish guys, Andreas Carlson, we called him Kramer. Like he was like Kramer on Seinfeld. I don't even know how he got to the rink half the time. Awesome guy. But anyway, Kramer wins the pool. He has no idea that he won. We're like, you win. And he's like, what do I win? And you're like, the TV. You won the TV. He just went and wrote his name down, picked off 4 guys. I forget who won.
That's fantastic.
So he was the winner. Oh, look at this. We just got a little Ollie. Ollie just decided to wake up today, too.
Good for Ollie. It's early in the morning there as we're recording episode 28. Headlines presented, Ray, by our good friends at Boston Pizza. It's the place to watch hockey. Saturday nights, any night that ends with a Y, right? Any time is good. You'll have a great time at Boston Pizza. Great food, great drinks, and great prizes to be won. Austin Matthews, man. We use the term heater maybe a little bit too much. It's been one of those catchwords this year, right? But it applies to Austin Matthews. Another 2-goal performance on the weekend, Saturday versus Montreal. 58 as we record with 10 games remaining. And now it's like, that's not enough. That's not enough. People are like, well, can you go north of 65? Carlo Koliakvo, our buddy who's been on the podcast, asked me about it on Toronto radio Monday morning. He's like, over under. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be conservative. I'm going to say under. Like, he scores 6 out of 10 games remaining. 6 of those he scores. He's still coming under 65. And he's like, really? Come on. I'm saying, like, this is what we do with these players.
Well, but here's the thing. Like, you use the word heater, right? A heater is when a guy goes on a 10-game stretch. Yeah, this is 50 game stretch, right? Yeah, 51 and 50 games. And I guess when I watch him, the thing that stands out to me is the way that he's able to score that other people just can't.
Right.
Like, there is nobody in the game, nobody that can score like Austin Matthews. He can score with power, and he can score with finesse. He can score close to the net, and he can score with distance. There's a violence to his shot, yet he is just such an incredible athlete, balance and hands in tight. And there's nobody in the game that has the full scoring package of Austin Matthews. I mean, I'm going to say he's going to score under 65.
Yeah.
But remember, like a week ago or a little bit longer, people were like, I think he can get to 50. Do you think he can catch Rick Vive? Oh, Rick Vive's 4 behind right now. And so it's been an amazing year. And I know, like, it's going to come down here. We're going to get into that Hart Trophy thing, and people are going to be sour however it goes. There is nothing harder in the NHL than scoring goals. And he makes it look like he's in a Pee-wee tournament.
So let's advance beyond the trophy balloting, the voting, all of that, and go into round 1 of the playoffs. And, Leafs Nation has made a big deal out of how Toronto has struggled mightily in round 1 against the Boston Bruins in particular, right? Of late, anyway, if you look past seasons. So we look at the East, and the East has been set in terms of the playoff participants for quite some time. Yeah, I mean, you can buy into the idea of jockeying for position. Sure. I don't. I feel like you're just trying to win games, aren't you? And how it ends up, who you play against, does it even matter? I mean, Toronto matches up as well against Boston as they might against any team in the East. Unless you think
I don't. No, I mean, I was in Pittsburgh on the weekend, and Washington beat Pittsburgh in Pitt. It was Pitt's 4th straight loss. Then Pitt won on Sunday in overtime against Nashville, I believe. And so, but that's the second wild card team right now, Washington.
Yeah.
And they beat Pittsburgh. I mean, like, what's the difference? It's a couple of points here or there. It's, Florida's got 108 points. Yet you look at Florida and you go, man, they give up a lot of goals. Their goaltending has been up and down, and you could give it a go and you wouldn't be terrified to play them. This came to me, Dregs, when Winnipeg was going in to play the Leafs, and they lost Ehlers and Nate Schmidt to COVID testing. And I'm like, I think the only teams want to avoid is Toronto, because they don't want to test going back and forth across the border. Like, and I'm serious. I mean, let's say you play games 1 and 2 in Toronto, and then as the standings sit now, and games 3 and 4 in Tampa. Now you got a test to go back. What if Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner test positive, or Jack Campbell test positive? You're done.
You're done.
And I'm like, so I think that would be, honestly, if I were a manager, I'd want to avoid the testing going back and forth across the border.
Right.
Like what kind of world do we live in? And that's even a thought. Yet it is. It's legit, right?
No,
I think it is.
100% is legit. Yeah.
But I don't think anybody fears anyone. I still got a gut that Tampa's got a better game than they've played over the last 10. Like they might be the one team in the East that I go,
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be a little leery of them, I think.
So I think it was last weekend on TNT, Rick Talk had made a comment on how he at least to his eye, Andrei Vasilevsky looks fatigued. He looks a little bit tired. And since he said that, that stuck with me. And now I'm looking for it, right? And I don't know what I'm looking for. Vasilevsky is a Vezina Trophy candidate on an annual basis. So,
right.
I guess you always expect him to make that save, good, bad, or otherwise. He's going to make the save. Could be something to that, man. Like he's played a tremendous amount of hockey over the last few years.
I just read today that Brian Elliott is probably going to start 4 of the last 10 games.
Yeah, there you go.
They're going to try and they're going to try and carve back some time for Vasilevsky. I mean, let's face it, he's the best in the game, but you can wear out the best in the game too. And maybe that month away for Jack Campbell will help him in Toronto.
Yeah.
Florida has not overtaxed Bobrovsky or Knight, mainly because they can't, there's really not that much difference. Although Bobrovsky's numbers are actually quite good, but nobody's tired there. Boston's been running 2 guys. Carolina's, since Rant is back, he's been 2 guys. Pitt's the team that, has run Tristan Jarry hard.
Right.
And, and he's had an excellent year. I guess Shesterkin, hey, look, if you got a number 1 horse, you're going to play him a lot. The backside of that is what if he gets tired and he lets in a squeaky one that is at the wrong time of the year.
Yeah. Let's kick over to the West, and we'll talk about LA, Dallas, Vegas, Nashville, and the battle for a playoff spots that continues there. Before we do, quick shout out to our friend Darren Millard, right? Yep. In a tough bike accident late last week. Went through a tough stretch, I would say, for a few days leading into the weekend, through the weekend. But the good news is, Ray, he's on the mend. It's going to take him a bit of time. Man. Tough Western Canadian boy. So
get well, Mallard. There you are. You're doing your thing, and this pops into your day. You know. So I hope you're getting better as quick as you can be. But he was sour. He's got to miss games. And you're like, you got to get better first. Because, by the way, I don't think Vegas is dead yet.
No.
They're 7-3. I was going to ask you,
is it so it's not too late for them, right?
They're 7-3 their last 10. Yeah. They got Pacioretty back.
Yeah.
LA's lost 3 in a row. They lost 3-0 lead in Minnesota. And then all of a sudden they're chasing the game. They can't get it back. They lose. That's 3 in a row for them. I mean, they're not a healthy team. I think they've had an amazing year to be where they are. Todd McClellan should get Coach of the Year votes. If they get in, he should get them for sure. But I think they've done they've hung in there, but Vegas isn't out of this yet. Now, one thing I want to point out, I was looking through some stuff because I'm like, damn, I think Edmonton's better than a lot of people think. And so I look, they got 2 wins less than Calgary. They had that one stretch that led to Dave Tippett's firing. Right. And that was an absolute disaster. And I keep reading about Edmonton's goaltending and Edmonton's depth and Edmonton's this. And I'm like, oh, would you look at that? They got 2 wins less than Calgary. Since Jay Woodcroft took over, they've won 19 out of 29 games, 19-7-3. Like they grinded out a couple of wins, a 2-1 overtime, the shootout loss to Colorado. They outshot Colorado 11-0 in the overtime. 11-0. That's Colorado outfit's pretty good, in case you haven't noticed. Good. So I'm like, but that goes back to your point of, does anybody really have a preference that they're playing? Like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to play Vegas in the first round if they get in. Especially what if they get healthy, man?
I guess you just nailed it. They get healthy, man. All of a sudden they turn from a team that you're wondering, rightfully so, whether they're going to qualify for the postseason, to being a top contender. And if they've got that momentum on their side and then they get the good health, how do you bet against the Golden Knights?
It's, Colorado's the class of the conference, and things are going to have to go wrong for them in a hurry if somebody's going to beat them right now. They just look too good.
Okay, so you mentioned Dave Tippett, you mentioned Jay Woodcroft. I mentioned Rick Tocchet earlier. There's 3 coaches, 2 former, 1 current, who's on an interim label with the Edmonton Oilers, and Jay Woodcroft. 11 coaches with interim tags or expiring contracts, Ray. Tough time to be a coach or an NHL head coach with a contract like that? Or do you like it that, man, we're going to have maybe not a bunch of new faces to the league, but we're definitely going to have some turnover on NHL benches in the offseason?
Well, for sure there is. And of course there's going to be different schools of pools of who you're going to look at. You'll like some of those 11, I would suspect will keep their coach. Some won't. You've got Paul Maurice, Rick Tocchet, Mike Babcock, John Tortorella. They're not coaching. David Quinn. Yep. They're not coaching.
Yeah.
Right. You have coaches that we might not have on the tip of our tongues that are being evaluated and looked at, that are either in the American League or in college. Are we not ripe for a European coach pretty quick?
Finally.
like how do we have all the best coaches in North America? I'm almost certain we don't.
No sense.
I'm almost certain we don't. But somebody's going to have to take that step and hire a first-time coach or a European coach, whether it's Rikard Gronberg or Roger Ronberg. They're both Swedish coaches. That one of the barriers, of course, for a lot of guys is their English, and both of these guys are fluent in English, so would be able to come to a locker room and run the show. You got the interim guys. I talked about Woodcroft. Andrew Brunette's down in Florida. I'm just looking up here. He's 44, 15, and 6.
Yeah.
So if it's not there, say Florida decides to go in another direction, well, people that might have looked at Bruno as an assistant coach will look at him a lot differently now. So the turnover, the turnover is going to be significant. I don't know. Wow. It's a funny business, and it goes through stages, Dregs? Like some years it's the coaches that the contracts run out. Some years it's the general managers, and there seems to be more GMs that turn over. But we've already had 2 GMs, Montreal and Vancouver, that have changed over this year
in season, which is rare when it comes to managers.
Yeah. So it's going to be. You're not getting to the cabbage for a while in the summer, is what I'm telling you.
Well, and look, we'll save this for another headline segment down the path, but the 2 names we didn't mention, guys on the outside looking in, Joel Quenneville, who's first got to meet with the commissioner before he can be reinstated. We'll see. And then, of course, Mike Babcock, who prematurely...
See, you don't even listen. I did mention Mike Babcock.
Did you?
Yeah, you don't even listen to me. Like, come on. Clean out your ears, would you?
Yeah, I'm going to have to, man. Oh, hold on. It's in this here.
Sorry. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there's the problem.
I didn't mention. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll expand our conversation on that.
We should.
Why don't we wrap up headlines with a quick thought on Ryan Getzlaf? Okay. He announces he's retiring at the end of this year. And, Ryan Getzlaf has just been that player for so many years with the Anaheim organization. By that player, I mean the face, the leader, ultimate captain, on all of those things. But what got me was Corey Perry and how Corey Perry turned so emotional, right, when asked about his time with Ryan Getzlaf. Now, they played together. They won a Stanley Cup together in Anaheim. You don't stop being friends, as is clear on the Ray and Dregs podcast, when you're not playing on the same team. Right. Pretty much 75% of our guests are players that you played with on varying teams. But to see Corey Perry get so emotional and tear up and talking about Ryan Getzlaf, man, made me feel good, because I don't know Getzlaf that well personally, but he must be one of the ultimate teammates and a real good friend for Corey to get that.
Those guys go back to the draft, Dregs.
Oh, I know.
They go back to that draft, and remember there was the lockout, and so they went to the American League together. A couple of 20-year-old knuckleheads in the American.
Path.
It's a long path, and to watch and to be so intertwined, and now Getzlaf's going to step away this year. To me, always when a guy retires of that stature, is he Hall of Famer or not? And Getzlaf is to me. For me, there's not much question, mainly because it's not the NHL Hall of Fame. It's the Hockey Hall of Fame. And his international play has to be taken into consideration. Olympic gold, World Junior gold, World Championship, Yeah, he's Hall of Famer for me.
All right. Thank you to Boston Pizza for our headlines. Ray, I'm switching over to the interview segment, and I've got some technological issues today.
Look at those
printers
spectacles.
Not working. Well, yeah, I got to put my cheaters on because look, I've got to read the small print off my
chance. Do you not have a computer? Make your font bigger.
No, I know, but you know what happens? So I got to be careful how I say this. I like looking at you when we do the podcast.
Thank you, sir.
Because then it encourages the conversation, right?
Yeah.
So when I flip over to the actual script screen and I can see what we're supposed to be promoting and going to next,
right?
Then I can't see your lovely face. And, for you to get up 5 o'clock this morning, shower, brush your teeth, comb your hair, do all the things that you do to do the podcast.
The hair takes very little time.
Yeah. All right, our interviews on Ray and Dregs are brought to you by our friends at Canadian Club Whiskey, who are asking, are you over beer? Why not try refreshing CC ginger ale? Toss in some lime next time you're having a drink or watching the game. And Ray, how about this? CC and ginger ale mixed and ready in a can is now available in many provinces across Canada. Now, you and I, because of our great relationship with Canadian Club Whiskey, have already sampled the CC and ginger in a can.
It's not a winner. It's Grand Slam.
I couldn't agree more.
It's a Grand Slam. I love it.
Staple at the Cabbage.
And here's the thing. Coming into the warm weather, it's starting to feel like it, Dregs.
Yeah, it just and look, I don't profess to be I want to say a bartender,
a mixologist.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah,
I'm not that, but I can mix a pretty decent cocktail. I'm not afraid to be creative, and that's why we talked about, the CC ginger ale. Maybe spice it up a little bit. Put in a bit of ground ginger in there, just a little bit. Otherwise, it gets too hot. However, this is the perfect blend. I like it. Nice summer drink, but you can
enjoy it.
Drink it.
Love it. Here. Thank you, CC.
You bet. We've got Jonathan Huberdeau of the Florida Panthers on Ray and Dregs. All right, we're joined by Jonathan Huberdeau of the Florida Panthers. Man, we could go so many ways to start this interview, Jonathan, but you've been around the NHL a long time. Ray and I were talking about it earlier in the podcast. Doesn't feel like you've been in the NHL as long as you have. Yet you're in the midst of a career year in the National Hockey League. So what this season do you think has helped elevate your game?
Yeah, I think, obviously I've been in the league for 10 years. Goes by pretty fast, I would say. And I think, confidence and consistency, that was a big thing for me to be better at. And I think obviously playing at penalty killing really helped me this year. I think you're more in the game. You're not sitting on the bench. You're always kind of playing. And I think that just helped to stay in the game, be better. And I think obviously take pride in defensive zone too. That was big.
Hey, Jonathan, you mentioned the penalty killing. Early in your career when, you're coming out of junior, you're a big scorer. And that's, of course, what everybody expects you to become. Do you even think that you want a penalty kill? Or I never penalty killed and I never even thought about it. I'm I don't know. Those guys can go block shots. I don't want to do that. But did you even think of it or?
Before this year, no. I thought I was you know what? I'm not playing penalty killing and I'm that's fine with me. I'm kind of saving my energy to play 5-on-5 and stuff. But at the same time, that's what I learned. And I think when you're on the penalty killing, you take pride in that. And, I didn't think it was going to be fun. And then I'm like, you know what? You still got chances to score on the penalty killing, because obviously when on the power play obviously they get chances too. And I think if you're smart enough, and obviously I got a good vision, so that helped me too on the penalty killing, and I kind of know what they're gonna do on the power play as well. So I think that was just something they threw at me this year and gave me the confidence that I could play, and I just took advantage of it, and I think did a pretty good job.
Now, you got 77 assists as we tape this today. Have you always, like back to junior, has that always been like the best part of your game, the creative part, the find the open guy part? Has that always been there for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather pass than score a goal. I would say that's kind of
Oh,
weird.
I
So
want you as my winger. Oh, what I want to play with you.
I don't know. I always been like the guy that I want to make the other guy better, or make him look good, I would say. But I mean, it kind of too when I got to the NHL, I was trying to pass too much, and then it gets to a point you're like, sometimes you should shoot, and kind of learned that throughout my career that sometimes you got to be a little bit more selfish. And still to this day, I mean, sometimes I should be more selfish, but I'm always looking for that pass. But yeah, I just don't. I don't know. I think I rather make if the guy has an empty net, that means like that's much better than me like scoring a goal.
The last week I was in Florida for your game against Toronto. You guys are down 5-1. You've pulled
Wild
the
one.
goalie. Oh, it just felt like the game wasn't quite over. Now, 2 days before that, you were down 6-2 in Jersey, and you came back and won there. Like, how do you guys get down so far, and how are you able to come back all the way so many times like you have?
I wish we knew. We don't want to get down too too
Yeah.
much too often, but I feel like it's been happening a lot. I think the past few years actually we have a lot of comeback, and when we come and after the second period, I think we're just so used to it that we're like like comeback cats, and and we just come back every time in the third period. But I mean these ones are pretty crazy though. 6-2, like 6-2. It's a rare that you're gonna come back from that, and we just we score one goal, and then after the confidence comes back and against the Leafs. I mean, the Leafs are a really good team, and down 5-1, you're like, you don't know where this game's going, and you might be thinking for the next game. But we're just resilient, and a lot of character in a room, and we just never give up.
Well, you guys are so much fun to watch. Like when I watch your team and you stand out with this creativeness and the way that you are able to produce offense. I watch Alexander Barkov and I'm like, does he ever get flustered? Like, does he ever get nervous? He just looks like he's so in control. And when you guys get on the ice together, it's amazing to watch like how different you are, but how well it all fits.
Yeah, I don't know. We started playing together, like earlier in our career. I mean, we just like found that chemistry, and these I think it's these little plays we like getting the puck, but like kind of pass it, get open, pass it back, and we know we're gonna get it back. So I think that's our chemistry we have, and obviously like I think it's better for the team to split us up, to get like a couple lines and play with different guys, and I think obviously some games when we're down, well, that's where we get reunite and kind of get excited. Obviously playing with
Yeah.
Barkey he's so special, and he's so good with his stick. Defensively, that's what impressed me the most. I mean, offensively, we all know what he can do, but defensively, he's just so smart. And obviously, when you play with a guy like that, it's so much easier.
Well, you clearly have the support, Jonathan, of ownership and management because, Bill Zito and the management group of the Florida Panthers have been building around guys like you, the core, the nucleus, the key pieces of the Florida Panthers in an effort to win a Stanley Cup. Not just qualify for the playoffs. I mean, legit win the Stanley Cup. So they go out, they bring in Benny Chiarot, and they bring in Claude Giroux. I know you add a little bit more French flair, which is always good. But what have those two guys specifically brought to the team?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, we were a good team, a really good team before they come in, and I think that just shows a lot. You said about like the management, and they believe, and this is our year. We got to go all the way and win the Stanley Cup. And I think, obviously for us, like the core group, it's been like they had confidence in that, even if we haven't really done anything, and that shows a lot. And now it's our time to shine and to do something on the ice with it. they brought us so many tools, like you said, Claude. I mean, this guy doesn't lose a face-off, I feel, and he's like unbelievable, great guy. And I feel like Bill has brought us good player, but good people too. And the chemistry in the dressing room is like unbelievable with everybody. With like a real close family, and it shows a lot on the ice. And Chiarot, obviously, a guy that is physical, and I think in the playoff it's going to be huge. I mean, there's less penalties, and I think he's a guy that plays really hard. And these two guys just going to bring a lot to us.
Have you noticed like an energy in the building, an energy around your team this year that maybe hasn't been there in the past from attention, the fans that are in the building? Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I mean, Florida is like that. It's a winning team. I mean, people are gonna come and cheer us on. And I think this year atmosphere last year was good too. Obviously, with COVID, it was harder, but I mean, this year has been the atmosphere is good. I mean, it's a good place to play when you win. I feel, and it's right now. We're winning, and a lot of people comes to support us. And I think that's in the playoff. It's gonna be sold out, and it's gonna be fun.
Well, you guys are scaring a lot. You're going to scare a lot of teams with the way you play. I would think so. Do you have on an off night? Are you a hockey watcher, or do you just kind of check out and go do other things?
No, I don't really. I mean, if there's a game on, obviously I'll watch. But if it's on TV, I'm not gonna be like looking for a hockey game. I mean, in Florida, there's a lot of option you can do, and go outside. I love to go to the beach, obviously, and kind of be outside. I mean, the weather is so beautiful. You don't want to be sitting and watch a hockey
game. You a golfer?
I golf, but this year we haven't really golf actually. Like, I mean, the schedule is pretty like busy, and obviously you don't want to go out there and be in the sun all day. So when we have like a couple of days off, we try to golf a little bit, but just having fun. But in the summer, obviously, I'm a huge golfer.
You got to go home in the summer, don't you? You're not hanging out in 110-degree Florida, are you?
No, I'm not. No, hopefully. I mean, this year I'm gonna hang out in Florida till June. So.
Nah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
That'd be great. But no, I go back home. I like going back home, see my family, my friends, and it's. I mean, it's good. Obviously, when the weather starts getting like a little bad in September, then you go back to Florida, good weather again. So perfect lot.
Are you finicky about your game? I mean, every NHL player has his quirks, right? I mean, whether it's sticks, skates, all of that stuff. I don't know why I think of Joe Pavelski and all the work that he does in front of the net, practice after practice after practice with the tip-in. So is there something about your game that you constantly work on, or is there an area that you're going to continue to constantly work on?
Obviously, my skating is not my strength, so obviously kind of try to slow the game down. But I feel right now all the kids that are coming in is just fast and
so
fast.
And
the game's getting faster and faster. But obviously try to work on my skating, and I'm more of a guy that go out there, have fun, and kind of not worry about a lot of things. That's how I play better, and that's why I'm just trying to practice, having fun. Work on some things. Obviously after practice a little bit. And obviously it's more about, for me, it's more about confidence. When I feel good with my stay, I feel good, I feel confident, score a lot of goals in practice, that's when I feel at my best.
Okay, you said something, we talked about it earlier. You go, the kids coming in. Can you believe that you say that? Like that you're 28, you've been here for 10 years. Like what does the game seem like now? What do the players seem like now, as opposed to when you were 18 coming in looking at all these old guys and you're like, man, I feel like such a kid?
Yeah, it's just faster, obviously, and then they change the rules, so like obviously guys, defensemen can't like hook a little bit of cross check and stuff like that, so it's different. I mean, obviously, like you see the high scoring game, like there's a lot of more goals being. It's nice for a forward. Obviously, the D don't really like it, but I think for that my type of player, it's a fun game, obviously. But it's just like the skills the young guys got. I mean, I feel now there's more like all summer they skate like mostly every day, and it's like. I feel back in the day, the guys wouldn't skate that much. Like they skate, but it's like you're resting and stuff. But now I feel like the guys with stick handling and stuff, I'm like, oh, I'm impressed with these guys. But obviously, it's still the game. It's still a game. I mean, it's different. It doesn't matter if you're going to be like stick handling through 3 guys. It's a team game, and it's still, and that's why all the guys still get, playing well. And Crosby and these guys, they're still good.
All right, Jonathan, we'll let you go with that. Look, we're not going to bug you again before the playoffs. And in fact, we'll leave you do what you do throughout the postseason. But I know from a fan's perspective, a lot of people are looking forward to watching the push of the Florida Panthers. You've been an entertaining team to this point. Thanks for doing this.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. Good luck.
Thank you.
And we'd like to raise a glass of that crisp, clean, sparkling 44-year-old CC. Jonathan Huberdeau for joining us today, presented by our friends at Canadian Club Whiskey. And you know what? I'm gonna correct something there. It's not sparkling. It would be sparkling if you added something like ginger ale. And this will be the one time, Ray, where we suggest the CC and ginger ale. It's a staple cocktail. You cannot go wrong. I might be a bit offended if I pour someone a glass of 44-year-old CC and they ask for a mix, cola, ginger ale.
The best part about that is they would know, or they will know shortly, they'll never get another.
That's a one-off.
Finished. You want to put Coke in you or Pepsi or whatever in there, you're out.
We're done and we can't be friends anymore.
That's it.
At
44, it's smooth.
What a great conversation with Huberdeau, right? Like, here's a guy who's, whether he's thinking about it or not, he's in that Art Ross race. Of course he is. He's having a magnificent season, as is the Florida Panthers, a top Stanley Cup favorite team, as they should be. But yet he's a bit of a throwback, right? He just loves talking hockey. And it doesn't have to be about himself and the great career, the career year he's having, but just the game in general. You can tell he's one of those guys that just loves every aspect of it.
Yeah, his progression from just a offensive guy. Then he talked about being a penalty killer this year and how he's found out, like, gee, that's a side of his game he didn't even know that he had. And so it's what's interesting when I read that or hear that is that players get ceilings placed on them all the time. What if you give them an opportunity to do something they might not even think of?
Right.
With a player like Huberdeau, look at the results they're getting from him. He's got over 100 points this year. When I watch him play too, Dregs, like, he's sneaky strong. Like, he's not the type of player that's, a big point producer in the regular season, and then he's going to get shoved out of a playoff game. It's not going to happen. Like, right. He's a terrific player. They're having an unreal year in Florida, and there's no way he's not an MVP candidate. There's just no way.
And the chemistry with Barkov, I can't remember which coach it was years ago, said to me, rather than looking at a line or a trio, as a coach, he would look at a tandem, like two guys that just have undeniable chemistry, right? You think Marner Matthews, obviously, but Barkov and Huberdeau are right in that conversation, right?
Yeah, and then this year too as well. Like, those two guys, like in the Toronto game, they got down, they put them back together, they just lit it up. They combined for the overtime winner. But Huberdeau plays a lot, almost most of the time, I guess, with Sam Bennett and Anthony Duclair, and they've had a terrific year. And Carter Verhaeghe, who was a terrific signing a couple of years ago, he's with Barkov and Giroux, and you're like, man, all of a sudden they're like, they score from everywhere. Sam Reinhart plays on their third line. He's having a career year. That's a good team. It's a good team, and Huberdeau and Barkov are at the front of it. They are leaders and they are producers.
Well, normally this time of the podcast, we bring in Chris Abbott from coolbet.co. Chris, unfortunately, can't make episode 28. He's been doing a lot of tweeting, a lot of commenting on social media, but apparently he's lost his voice, Ray. So
that's not a surprise. That's not a surprise. He was at the Blue Jays and saw him posting pictures, and he was He was certain that the Jays pitcher was going to get smacked around because every time he's in the ballpark, the poor guy, Ryu, can't get anybody out. And you know that somewhere in the third inning, he knew that he had a problem. I mean, Chris.
Yeah. Well, potentially he'll be available in episode 29. That's to be determined. Yes. We'll see whether he looks after himself this week. But we're going to handle the coolbet.co segment this week in episode 28. And we're looking at the Rocket Richard Trophy winners. And it's pretty obvious when you look at the odds and how they're established right now. You've got Austin Matthews right now betting a -1,000, -1,000. Leon Draisaitl, who's got 50 as we record this, is +500. That's the next closest rival to Matthews. And then it jumps all the way to Chris Kreider at +5,000. Why would you put money on this?
Do you know the movie Rounders?
I do, yes. Yeah.
One of my favorite movies. And so they say in the movie it says you always got to give yourself an out. Mm-hmm. And if you don't give yourself an out, that's when you lose. I'm saying you can't lose with Matthews. You don't need an out. He's got an 8. No. What's he got? An 8-goal bump here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. No. It's over.
All right. Is it as lopsided on the Vezina Trophy side? You've got Shesterkin at -1,000, similar, exactly the same as Austin Matthews. Freddie Anderson, fast Freddie Anderson, +1,100, closest rival to Shesterkin. Jacob Markstrom, +1,400, heck of a season for Markstrom in Calgary. And then Andrei Vasilevsky is at +3,000, and then it jumps to Sorokin at +5,000. So the cutoff feels like it needs to be Vasilevsky, but it won't go that deep, I don't think.
No, I think the cutoff Shesterkin. It's that, like, I don't see any other goaltender to win it. I know he had a couple of tough weeks, but man, he's just been amazing, just brilliant. And to me, he's the winner.
Well, I'd like to thank Chris Abbott, but I'll thank coolbet.co instead because Chris Abbott is otherwise unavailable.
Yeah, he's nursing. What do you think? You think he goes with lemon, hot water, a little honey, stuff like that?
Yeah, hot water and lemon every morning. I have a cup of coffee, and then I have a cup of decaf coffee using my Keurig, and then I go to hot water and lemon. Gets me through the radio, gets me through the podcast, gets me fresh and ready for the rest of the day. That's quite a little ordeal you go through there. Yeah, you know what? I can thank Mike Keenan for the hot water part years ago. He kept saying, Dregs, you got to hydrate more.
His players would have been happy that he drank hot water so he didn't lose his voice. They would have loved that.
He was full of hot air, so it was good that he drank hot water, right? Okay. Let's jump over to Ask Ray and Dregs Anything. We remind you every week on Twitter, Instagram, our social channels at Ray and Dregs. Fire us off your questions, or you can check in to the website at rayanddregs.com. Presented by our friends at Endy. We still love our Endy mattresses. That's never going to change. They're as comfortable today as they were day one. One of the things, many of the people who listen to the podcast, mostly friends and family, to be fair, right, ask me a lot. They ask me about Canadian Club Whiskey, of course. Right. They all of our primary sponsors, they're curious about. The Endy mattress is right up there next to the whiskey where they're like, hey, can you hook me up with a mattress? I'm like, no, I'm not hooking you up with a mattress.
Buy it. Use the code.
Yeah, use the code RD75 and you're getting a $75 discount. That's the best I can do. But it happens all the time. I'll get at least once a month, and I'm not exaggerating. I'll get an email or a text. Hey, I need a mattress. Can you hook me up?
Yeah, just send them to the website and send them the code.
Yeah. Fast free shipping, 100-night trial. Again, use RD75 as your discount code, and you will get $75 off a mattress at endy.ca. Let's go to Twitter. Let's start there. Dorfian. Florida has made the playoffs 3 times in the last 20 years, losing in the first round each time, as we know, Ray. I don't hear anyone talking about them like they talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Why do you think that is?
Well, I would say because Toronto's the third biggest city in Canada, or third biggest city in North America, or fourth, and it's the center of the hockey world. It's been that way for a long time, and Florida is an exceptional team. But if the follower got to this part of the podcast, then he knows we've already talked about Florida in the same way as Toronto.
Mm-hmm. All right. Carey Price was spotted, as we talked about earlier in the pod, at the Toronto Blue Jays season opener. So this one's from Instagram, from the Curfew Boys, wanting to know, does Carey Price stay with the Montreal Canadiens after this season?
I don't know. A lot of that is what does Carey want? What do the Canadians want?
That's where it starts. Yeah.
Right? And then if they decide that they want an exit ramp, then what kind of deal can possibly be structured? I mean, it hasn't played in a year. Hopefully he'll get a few games towards the end of the year. He makes $10 million. I don't know if you've been following the cap, but it's not like there's a lot of teams with a lot of cap space. And so it kind of feels to me, just to feel that they would explore that, but it's not as easy as just, hey, let's move on. I don't know. I think it'll be a difficult deal. In particular, if he doesn't get the opportunity to play towards the end of the year.
All right. We've got one more question. Room for one more, because this is a tight podcast. Episode 28 snug.
Because I got to get on a plane. I got to get going here.
I know. So I'm giving you an option.
Okay.
And we can get to the other one in episode 29. There's a question about Canada implementing a similar program to the national development team that the U.S. have, or an officiating question wondering about why the National Hockey League doesn't use the ECHL/American League ex-players as officials. So we can go either way. Which one do you want to dive into?
Well, let's go to the officials and save the Canada one.
Yeah. By the way, I like it. And that question comes from Seth, because I don't know if we've ever talked about it on the podcast. We'll save it for episode 29.
Because I think but because for people that don't know, you've got to set up what the development team is.
Yeah.
You got to set up the program and then say,
Yeah. Okay. And it hurts the CHL. I understand that, but this is a good one. So let's park it for the next episode. Okay. So from Jordy Hill, with all the questions on officiating in our last episode of Ray and Dregs, episode 27, here's one from an official. So Jordy Hill obviously is an official. What are your thoughts on the NHL grooming ex-ECHL/AHL players into officials that have little experience in the old work through the vein of leagues and earn it? Well, I'm just going to say something, you jump off this, because I've had this conversation with Director of Officiating Stephen Wackham many times. That would be perfect case scenario, right? Where an ex-hockey player, pro hockey player, decided, okay, I'm done. And we've got a few examples of where this has actually happened, right? Where they morph into pro league officials, National Hockey League linesmen and referees. It's too bad that it doesn't happen more often, but I don't think we can be critical of the NHL not wanting that to happen, because that would be a perfect feeder system for the guys that don't quite make the NHL.
But I think that question says, as guys having to earn it, like they would go back and, referee in junior and referee, and get all these thousands of reps before they get to the National Hockey League. Right. I think that would be awesome. However, there is, in the last 5 or 7 years, the turnover of officials to retirement has been quite significant.
It has, yeah.
When people are being jackasses to officials in minor hockey, they quit. They don't get to junior. They're like, why the hell I'm 18 years old and I got some 40-year-old idiot yelling at me from the stands. They quit. So there isn't enough officials. So now they've gone to retired players and said, hey, these guys know the game. They've played the game. Most of us know the rules, or at least know a facsimile of the rules. You got a head start. So let's see if we can position them to grow. I ran into a young guy, my last flight in Vancouver, in the lounge, and he was lives in Kamloops. He was headed to Toronto to do 2 American League games. He does American League and Western Hockey League games. He's an ex-player. He's on the path. And so I think it's terrific that these players are in their late 20s to 30. So you're getting younger. You're building up a pool of officials. So then you get a little depth again. Because the officials, most of them are getting close to retiring.
Yeah.
And they have to be replaced. And I know this from just being around the guys this year a bit. Injuries and COVID have ravaged the officiating crews, like a lot of businesses, I guess. And we hear with the healthcare workers. So now, you get COVID, you're out. Somebody's got to cover those games. They have guys that were scheduled to work 50 games that are working 80. These guys are exhausted. And so this is a terrific way, I think, to build a pool of officials to learn, and then they'll weed themselves out. Some will be good enough, some won't. The NHL hopes that lots are.
Well, Jordy Hill, thank you for the question. That's Ask Ray and Dregs. Thank you to Andy for helping us out. Reminder, check out Ray and Dregs' social channels as well for Rapid Fire, presented by Kintec Footwear and Orthotics, keeping you active on your feet for life. A little bit later this week, we'll have another episode of Rapid Fire, so check it out. We should record this part of the podcast, which is the end, and just hit play every single episode every week, because I ask you the same thing. Ray, what's your week look like? In the last 3-4 episodes, you're like, yeah, good question. Yeah, I'm traveling. I'm home for 15 minutes and then I'm gone for 2 weeks.
Well, I do have this. This is what's going on. Starting last Friday, I have 17 days in a row of either a flight or a game.
Beef.
And so I got home yesterday. It's Sunday at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And as soon as we leave, I'm going to get changed and go to the airport. And I go to Dallas for Tuesday, Tampa, Dallas for ESPN, Washington, Toronto for TSN on Thursday, and a big game, Minnesota at St. Louis on Saturday for ABC. So
the hockey is fun. That's the fun
the game's
part, right?
fun. I miss being home. I got home last week and watched Riley play, and he plays for the Whitecaps Academy, and scored a goal, which was cool to see. And then I got to see Reese a little bit and do his thing, and actually saw Cammy. Like, oh, you live here too? Yeah, good to see you. Saw the grandkids yesterday. Played a couple of games and board games and stuff, and off we go again.
Cammy's
not
in
complaining,
hockey
Dregs.
management.
No, not complaining, but it's like
Cammy's in hockey management. She's not supposed to have family time like this. I'm going to have to report this to Jimmy. He's going to have to tighten up the schedule.
I did have a conversation with her. I said, look, could we just talk about something other than the Canucks for 5 minutes, please? Just because I don't get any information. We're talking around abstract crap. Like, I don't even know what the hell's going on. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
But she's crafty. She'll grill you for information, right? Like no, it doesn't
absolutely. And then I'm like, hey, what are you doing with this? Well, I can't tell you that.
No, that's not your concern.
Yes, exactly. That's pretty much it.
All right, buddy. We'll travel safe.
Thanks, Dregs. Be well. Have a great week. And to everyone, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you talk to you later in the week.
Huge shout out to our partners who make the podcast possible. Title sponsor, our good friends at Canadian Club Whiskey, who ask, are you over beer? Coolbet.co, the free-to-play sports and casino games website. Thank you. Endy.ca. Remember, use code RD75 and you're going to save $75 on a mattress. By Kintec Footwear and Orthotics. Book a consultation at kintec.net. And by Boston Pizza. Pick it up, get it delivered to your door. Let Boston Pizza do the cooking tonight. And by Doer. Use code RND and you will save 15%. 75% would be a real good deal. 15%,
15's
really nice. Yes. Off the great pants at doer.ca. Special thanks to you, of course, for listening, rating, sharing, following the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and for following us on the YouTube channel where you can catch up on the video versions of all of our past interviews, rapid fire clips, and much more. That's episode 28. Another episode later this week, episode 29. In the meantime, be well, everybody.